First and foremost, it just revealed the kind of character that we have. The toughness, the relentless spirit, the flexibility.
Welcome back to the Clark Update. Today, our story has taken another completely unexpected turn, with brand new developments grabbing the attention of WNBA fans everywhere. From highly surprising claims to incredibly strong reactions, the massive conversation around this whole situation is growing larger by the minute. So, what is actually going on behind the scenes? Has this drama reached a major turning point, and what could possibly happen next? Stay with me until the very end, because we are breaking down all the key details and the latest reactions, along with everything you absolutely need to know. Now, without wasting another single second, let us get straight into today's massive story. It is completely finished. The entire project is now teetering on the absolute edge of a catastrophic, system-wide collapse, and the people in command are literally handing matches to the arsonists while pouring gasoline on the fire. Ultimately, this is no longer just about a basketball game. This is about an open, hostile, and completely indisputable rebellion that is actively developing right now inside the WNBA. The whole Caitlin Clark song is a civil war against its very own redemption, golden ticket, and last chance. This deep internal conflict has now officially resulted in its first high-profile deserter and public casualty. They literally forced a coach to resign. She did not just walk away from her job, because that would be too simple and neat. They made a famous, highly accomplished head coach completely abandon the supporters, the entire public square, and even the basic concept of accountability, simply because the unvarnished, unadulterated truth that hundreds of thousands of passionate new fans were screaming became far too loud for the collapsing sports establishment to ignore. This is a 5-alarm, code red fire. We are looking at a real-time example of a complete, catastrophic system breakdown. And what we are witnessing is the public application of absolute common sense, which is aired live to the entire world. The self-proclaimed experts in the mainstream sports media, who have massive financial incentives to defend the league, are deliberately misleading you. They're constantly claiming this is just standard rookie treatment while throwing around pitiful, patronizing phrases. They're actively trying to convince you that this is simply a welcome to the league physicality. The actual fans, the real, everyday people who are actually funding this league for the very first time in its troubled history, are screaming the truth from the rooftops of the internet, because that narrative is an absolute downright lie. And at long last, the carefully constructed wall of silence and denial has been completely smashed by their loud cries and their rightful, passionate indignation. The head coach of the Connecticut Sun, the league's undefeated top-ranked team, Stephanie White, just found out exactly what happens when you participate in the league's dirty little secret and get caught. Her team, which was undeniably excellent, faced off against the Indiana Fever, and naturally, they used ridiculous, completely unnecessary, and highly dangerous physicality when targeting Caitlin Clark. That really seems to be the only game plan anyone has against her. It is the unwritten memo circulated throughout the entire league. Beat her up if you cannot outsmart her. Hip check her straight into the third row if you are completely unable to outshoot her. It is a desperate tactic that prioritizes brutality over basketball skill, but this time was different. This time, the massive response went far beyond just a few minor complaints. The backlash was biblical. The massive fan base of Caitlin Clark unleashed a huge tidal wave of pure wrath, a fan base that currently serves as the WNBA's entire clientele. They have had absolutely enough of watching the league's biggest star treated like a human piñata game after game after game. The screen is filled with a fast-paced, disorienting collage of social media comments, displaying highly irate YouTube responses, along with Instagram comments and tweets aimed directly against Stephanie White in the official Connecticut Sun accounts. Messages are highlighted and usernames are clearly displayed. This is shameful. This is not basketball. Keep your stars safe. The remarks were incredibly harsh. They were unrelenting. They showed absolutely no mercy at all. You should feel guilty because your team plays dirty basketball. Is this a targeted personal attack or a basketball game? The league must look into this. You are just another bigot. Just another coach who is envious of a 22-year-old sensation who possesses more raw talent than your entire squad put together. This continued for several hours. It was a digital army of passionate supporters who can clearly see what the media, players, and league office are completely blind to that they are deliberately trying to injure, dehumanize, and both physically and psychologically destroy the single individual who actually has the potential to make this entire league significant on a global scale. And how exactly did this massive public outcry turn out once the truth was exposed for the entire world to see? What happened? Stephanie White was simply unable to handle it. The pressure was too much, the reality was too damaging, and her account on X was deleted. She completely gave up. She had absolutely no defense, so she just fled the conversation entirely. There is no justification, and there is no way to defend what is happening. This goes far beyond a head coach deciding to log off after receiving some hurtful tweets. This exposes a massive, fundamental flaw inside the WNBA as a whole. Think about this. The very fan base this struggling league desperately needs to survive has just publicly humiliated the head coach of an undefeated team, driving her into virtual exile. Those paying fans just delivered a massive, devastating vote of absolute no confidence. This is the audience standing up and telling the WNBA, straight to their faces, that they see right through this entire setup. The jealousy is glaringly obvious, and fans will not tolerate this coordinated, systematic onslaught. If you destroy your own product, we are not going to pay for it. The league office, the head coaches, the veteran players, and the entire organization have collectively built this toxic, hostile, and incredibly dangerous environment that does not just exist for Caitlin Clark out there on the court, but also for absolutely anyone suspected of belonging to that bitter old guard which so clearly and deeply despises her very existence. They have cultivated a bitter, resentful us versus them mindset. Now that attitude is exploding in their faces in the most dramatic and highly visible way possible. They honestly believed they could control the narrative, but they severely miscalculated the sheer strength of the people, foolishly believing they could use their media mouthpieces at ESPN to spin this as totally normal and trick those millions of brand new viewers. They completely undervalued the deep, direct emotional and financial investment that millions of these new fans have made in Caitlin Clark. This is no longer just a sports issue. It is now a full-blown cultural war. It is a direct revolt against a weak, insecure establishment that would honestly rather burn down the entire house than admit she is far bigger and infinitely more important than all of them combined, simply because they are so terrified of a truly transcendent superstar. On screen, a high-definition, slow-motion video of Chindy Carter's egregious foul on Clark keeps playing on a loop. Next, we see a slow-motion clip of Tiara McCowan's risky hip check with bold red text slashed across the screen reading, "This is not basketball. It is a targeted attack." Let us be brutally, horribly, and utterly clear about this. What we are watching every night is not real basketball. This is a highly coordinated, well-planned campaign of physical intimidation, fueled directly by the bitter jealousy of veteran players who simply cannot stand that a rookie is getting all the attention they themselves were never able to capture, while being implicitly approved by the league office's absolute and deafening silence. They do not work in tandem with her. They outright attack her. They are not just boxing her out. When the referees are not looking, they shove her to the floor. And what about those referees? They have either received marching orders from higher up, or they are just completely incompetent, or they are complicit in this effort. No other rational explanation exists, and everyone has witnessed it on a daily basis. The off-ball shreds, the cheap shots, the constant grabbing and holding it is absolutely indisputable. People like Stephanie White are the very ones enabling this behavior, and it is a massive disgrace to the entire sport. Just like every other coach this season, her defensive strategy relies on one pitiful, desperate concept: Caitlin Clark must be physically punished until she finally breaks down. But she could not face the music when the paying ticket holders and passionate fans confronted her on it. She bolted, instantly shutting down the entire discussion. Right there, you have a clear admission of guilt, and it is the single most telling moment in this entire ongoing farce. It proves beyond a doubt that they know exactly how wrong, dirty, and utterly indefensible their actions really are. They simply never imagined that such a massive and passionate army of fans would rise up and hold them directly accountable for it. They truly believe the outside public could never touch their small, isolated little world, but those protective gates have now been completely breached. The financial fallout from this coordinated campaign of self-sabotage is going to be absolutely terrifying for everyone involved in this league. Now, the floodwaters are rising. Picture a powerful split-screen graphic. On one side, thousands of fans wearing Clark jerseys completely pack a sold-out arena for an Indiana Fever home game. On the other side, archival footage from last year shows a half-empty WNBA arena, quiet and totally lifeless. We have to remember where this league was just 6 months ago. In reality, the WNBA was basically a charity case, playing in front of only close friends, family, and a tiny group of devoted supporters. It was a league subsidized by the NBA for decades, operating as a financial black hole that lost massive amounts of money every single year. It was a highly niche product with almost no appeal to the general public. Then Caitlin Clark arrived on the scene. She instantly transformed into a one-woman economic stimulus package for this entire collapsing organization. Ticket prices across the league have jumped by over 200%. On certain nights, her television viewership figures are beating both the NBA and the NHL, shattering all previous records. Her iconic jersey quickly became the fastest-selling draft pick jersey in the history of sports, across any league, male or female. After decades of endless complaints about team travel, she single-handedly forced the league to finally approve charter flights for all teams, simply because she brought in an unprecedented flood of money and attention. She is a walking economic miracle all by herself. Any rational corporation with even a microscopic shred of business sense or a basic survival instinct would have wrapped her up in industrial-grade bubble wrap from day one. They would demand that referees treat her on the court as if she were a precious national asset. Every single advertising campaign, television commercial, and social media post would revolve around her. They would have crowned her the league's undisputed, unapologetic face and dared anyone to say otherwise. But what did the WNBA actually achieve? The absolute opposite. Instead of protecting her, they let their jealous players treat her like a punching bag night after night. The biggest names, the so-called veterans, have gone on popular podcasts and interviews to disparage her, griping about her, and actively fuel hostility, instead of bringing her welcome baskets and showing real appreciation for their newfound relevance and much larger paychecks. Out of pitiful, unadulterated jealousy, they are actively and deliberately contaminating their own water supply. Looking back at the history of modern sports, this stands as the most spectacular, mind-boggling act of institutional self-destruction. After receiving a winning lottery ticket worth billions of dollars, they all agreed to set the thing on fire. Just for a second, imagine the NBA back in the 1980s, deciding that Michael Jordan was getting too famous. What would have happened if Commissioner David Stern had just allowed the bad boy Pistons' brutal, unethical practices to go completely unpunished, eventually driving Jordan out of the league? The NBA would never have survived. In the pages of athletic history, it would be nothing but a forgotten footnote. Today, the WNBA is standing on that exact same precipice. They are deliberately choosing to act like the Detroit Pistons while living through their very own Michael Jordan moment. The entire league is absolutely packed with executives, coaches, and players who would honestly prefer to rule over a kingdom of ashes than witness the legitimate rise of this brand new queen. And the wealthy, highly powerful fans are witnessing it all. Since the mainstream sports media won't do it, I want to hear exactly what you have to say. They are far too cowardly and refuse to upset their league partners, but right now, the only thing that actually matters is your voice. Taking them one by one, these full-screen tweets and YouTube comments are showcased here for the absolute maximum impact. This comment comes from Jayhawks Fan 88, pointing out that the best proof is Stephanie White deleting her account. Just last year, she was coaching the Fever, so she knows exactly what a generational superstar looks like. Now that she is leading an undefeated team, her game plan is to have them relentlessly target Clark. Once called out, she folded like a cheap, shoddy suit. Pure cowardice. Here's another one from Sarah P22 stating that this is not even being hidden anymore. This is a league-wide conspiracy. The older veterinarians fear being forgotten and replaced. Because the league's front office is weak and terrified of its own players, the WNBA is letting them get away with constant abuse. And this post from Real Talk Sports Guy perfectly sums up everything. This entire league will go completely bankrupt in 3 years if Adam Silver and the NBA Board of Governors do not step in right now to clean up the WNBA. You simply cannot market a generational superstar and then allow other employees to constantly disparage her on national television. It is a massive financial, public relations, and HR nightmare. This is reality. The WNBA's front office is making a valiant effort to ignore this unvarnished truth, but you simply cannot ignore a full-blown revolution. Stephanie White had to learn that lesson the hard way. Her departure from the public square serves as a perfect metaphor for the pitiful state of this entire system. They do not have the answers, and they have no justification. They completely lack any rational defense. As the entire world changes around them, all they have left is a frantic, flailing struggle to hold onto a tiny shred of power. The long-term damage becomes even more irreversible the longer they allow this hideous display to continue. Every cheap shot that goes uncalled, every single envious remark made by a resentful veteran, and every coach who actively designs a physical, beat-her-up game plan slowly erodes the fragile foundation of this newfound success. Corporate sponsors will not want to be associated with all this constant turmoil and drama. Parents do not want their kids looking up to players who act like on-court bullies. The millions of casual basketball fans that Caitlin Clark brought in will grow disgusted and eventually walk away. And after they walk away this time, they are never going to return. They will leave behind a sports league that is even more financially bankrupt, completely irrelevant, and flat out ridiculous than it was before she arrived. Their ultimate legacy will be a group of coaches and players who, driven by pure hatred, pushed away the greatest thing that had ever happened to them. We are all front row witnesses to this slow-motion suicide mission. We are watching an entire league actively decide to end its own existence. It is a horrible, embarrassing, and entirely preventable catastrophe. So, what is the alternative? A competent league. A professional league managed by truly business-savvy individuals. A marketing-first league that actively safeguards its absolute most valuable resources. That is the standard blueprint. Just look at the quarterbacks in the NFL. If you breathe too hard on a star quarterback, you will be heavily fined and hit with a 5-yard penalty. Just look at how the NBA carefully built up its stars. Rules were established specifically to give elite scorers every opportunity to showcase their greatness on the court. They understood that fans paid good money to watch Michael Jordan play, not to watch Bill Lamir physically assault him. Yet, the WNBA has actively resisted this highly successful formula. They have actively chosen total chaos. They have chosen the bitter path, and ultimately they have chosen their own self-immolation. Now they are forced to deal with the scorching repercussions. And the ultimate canary in the coal mine is the Stephanie White situation. This is the first unmistakable public sign that the entire system is actively crumbling under the massive pressure of the fans' fury. They simply cannot hide in the shadows anymore. They can no longer pretend this is not actually happening. We are watching every single move. We have all the receipts, we have the social media posts, and there are countless video clips out there. The evidence is absolutely damning and completely overwhelming. This is a desperate, last-ditch effort by a dying institution trying to cling to a history that nobody really cared about, while simultaneously crushing everyone's dream of a bright future. It will not stand, and it honestly cannot. If significant, top-down reform is not implemented right away, a total collapse is absolutely imminent. The commissioner must step in and intervene forcefully. Every dirty play should mean heavy fines, and serious suspensions are absolutely necessary. Every coach and every player must receive a loud, unequivocal, and very public message. The entire future of this league belongs to Caitlin Clark. Additionally, you will be dismissed immediately if you obstruct her path or try to hurt her. Anything less is a flat-out declaration of war against the fans' progress and league survival itself. Let me ask you directly, what do you see when you watch these games? Do you see a hard-nosed, tough defense with competitive grit, or do you see a deliberate, well-planned campaign of psychological and physical intimidation? Do you actually believe it is just a random gesture of self-care when a coach deletes her social media accounts? Or do you think it is a terrified admission of guilt in the direct face of intense public pressure? The battle lines have been clearly drawn, and you will not get the actual truth from the mainstream media. The league completely refuses to acknowledge this situation. It is entirely up to us now. Saving this league depends on the fans who are actually paying attention. Your voice matters now more than ever before. So, please let me know your thoughts in the comment section right now. Do you stand with Caitlin Clark and the bright future of the sports industry? Or do you support the deteriorating, self-destructive, and envious establishment that is frantically attempting to destroy her before she can even truly get started? You have a clear choice to make. The entire world is watching to see who prevails in this pivotal moment.